Welcome, everybody, to Catfish Weekly, along with J.R. Cochran. And Jeff Manning has joined the show tonight. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, man, we want to talk about your tournament. J.R., it is quite an honor for us to have Jeff Manning on here. This tournament that he has, you know quite a bit about. I find it extremely intriguing, and I think that it should be blowed up to where he gets a hell of a crowd out there, because I think it would be a ton of fun.
I don't know how much he wants a big crowd to show up.
Bite your tongue.
I've had it both ways.
He's got his hands full.
Fun. You know, that's what the whole purpose for this tournament was, to keep it interesting and to keep it fun.
Well, I can imagine what it'd be like to have a 30-pound flathead, a 60-pound blue, and no channel cat.
No channel. And can't get in the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny was every year that we had these tournaments, I would tell people, you know, everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to go run out. I'm going to try to get my flathead. I'm going to try to get my blue. And every year I would tell them, boys, y'all are going to be surprised at how many teams are going to come in, and they're not going to have that channel cat. They're just not going to catch, because the time of year, it's just one of them just dead areas, and the channel cats seem to be a little bit later on doing what they do. And man, I mean, I've been in that boat. I had a 48-pound flathead and had a 44-pound blue, and the guy that won the Grand Slam only had 27 pounds total.
But he had all three species.
But he had all three species.
Well, let's face it, us guys down here in the Southeast, we're not targeting the channels ever. Us Southeastern guys, we are targeting big blues and big flatheads. We don't most of us, we don't care anything about channels. Every time we catch a channel, it's normally a bycatch. We're like, oh, it's just a channel cat. We take it off to it, we toss it back in. So we got it in our mind that they're easy to catch. That comes with any sport. Striper fishermen say that bass fishing is so easy because bass are always a bycatch of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a bycatch. So when you're actually going out there and you're actually having to target that, it's not as easy as you would think it would be.
Yeah.
Especially when you got to get all three. That's what really throws people off.
I find that extremely interesting, man. I just think that'd be a hoot. Dieter Melhorn is in chat and says, Jeff Manning without a hat. Weird. That's as odd as they are saying something that makes sense. He's on a roll.
I got shorts and jogging pants on. How about that?
You what?
At least I got my jogging pants on.
Heck,
no, it's going to be a great show if he's got his jogging pants on.
Oh, man, there's a bunch of folks in chat already, and we're just getting started. All right. Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about your tournament, when it is, how they can get signed up, the rules and regulations, and all the stuff that goes to it. And, boys, look at this. Patriot Catfishers of America. I know both of you live pretty close to James, and I want to make sure everybody knows to tune in on Wednesday nights, and you can see Patriot James Catfishers of America and join his show and be a part of that.
Well, I'm supposed to be on James's show, too, the week before the tournament, so that'll give people another chance to see it. But we do it it's going to be August 15th. I believe that's the date.
August 15th.
August 15th.
That's a good date. That's a good date.
It's going to be out of the South Point Boat Landing on Lake Wiley. Right now, we're going to post it up on Facebook under Manning's Grand Slam Tournament. You can find it there. And we have a little list of the rules and all the stuff we do. But the tournament started as we have the Carolina Catfish Club. We'd have a meeting. We always had these little tournaments through the year. And during one of the meetings, we started talking about doing something different, something that would make it more challenging. And that's when the thought of the Grand Slam tournament come up. And the whole basis for it is to challenge you to get all three species. And another thing is it makes it fair for everybody, because if you're not much on catching flatheads, you can still go out there and you can catch a 30, 40-pound blue cat and win just as much money as anybody else. So the whole tournament's based on you can win a little or you can win it all. I mean, you can literally go out there. Last year, I think we had 52 boats, and the guy ended up winning 2 of the divisions plus the Grand Slam. So, he walked out there with over $2,000 in cash.
So let's talk about the hardest fish to catch, which I think that we would agree would be the channel. What would be your bait to catch that dreaded channel cat. Once you get your 30-pound blues in the boat, you got your 36-pound flathead in the live well. You know, you're looking good. Now all you got to do is get a channel. What are you using for bait?
See, that's where my strategy is different. Twice I've got burnt on going and getting my blue, going and getting a good flathead, and hoping that there'll be a bycatch, channel cat somewhere in it. I'm talking about throwing little tiny pieces of bait. I mean, doing everything during trying to catch the bigger ones. And it bit me on the butt twice. I mean, here I was, you know, with an hour to go. I'm out there literally trying to. I was putting night crawlers on hooks, trying to catch the channel cat. I didn't care what it was.
So you're saying go after the channel first. Go ahead and get it out of the way.
Channel first, because I feel like on Lake Wiley, especially, your channel cat bite is better during the day. It dies off the minute it gets dark. And what I usually do is I start drifting. I'll go back to the back of one of these coves and 5 to 6 foot of water. Throw out small cut baits, and usually I'll tag a channel cat. Last year,
stink baits?
Yeah, just the smallest bait I can throw.
You're not using any like Uncle Charlie's, whatever that peanut butter looking.
But it is not allowed to have stink bait on my boat, and that's another story. I spilt a whole jar of it in the carpet. I had the boat for 10 more years. You could still smell it in the carpet.
Oh my goodness!
So it was like, so that is not allowed on my boat. But yeah, I try to get my channel cat first. Any channel cat, I don't care if it's 2 pounds. Once I get my first channel cat in the boat, then I go try and target.
Game on. Start targeting the bigger fish. Okay, I don't want to hog him, Lyle. So
hey, no problem. I'm
yours.
staying up with the chat and. It seems to me, and I haven't caught all of it because it's going by pretty quick. It looks to me like Cindy is almost giving me permission to come out there.
Come on out. I think you should.
I'm telling you right now, she better not be saying that and not meaning it.
I highly recommend fishing on Manning's boat. I fished on it before, and he was the first guy that I know of that had the forward console boat. Everybody wants the forward console, enclosed cabin. That's like the thing now, and that's the most. These 1%er guys, that's what they know that. That's what they're going after. Manning had that years ago, and he's got a cool boat. It's an old Starcraft. I want to say it's 21 foot. It's got an enclosed cabin.
1974, 21
As long as I've been following Jeff, and I followed him long before he was ever on Catfish Weekly, I can remember that being on there. And you built that, if I remember correctly, Jeff.
Yes, sir. I found it. I was actually driving down the road, and a guy had the skin, just the skin. There was no tops, no transom, no nothing. It was just the skin, hauling it to a scrapyard. And I stopped him and said, "What would you take for just the skin?" He said, "Well, I'll get $200."
He said $300.
He said $250, and I said, I'll follow me home, and I ended up buying the boat and then building the boat around just the skin itself.
Awesome. Wow. Well, that's cool.
But it was crazy. Cool. I mean, you're talking about the forward console. Everybody, when I built the boat, you'll never get that boat on plane. You'll never get that boat a plow.
Man, that boat runs good.
It runs great with that.
That's great.
Yeah, I that moving that console forward, it helps so many different things. And I don't know anybody, unless they was underpowered on their boat to start with, that's had any problems with getting them on plane.
Now, it says that mine actually runs. Now, what's funny is I built that canopy he calls it a pilot house on the front of it. It weighs about 180 pounds. Everybody said, well, you're going to
wicked tuna.
Yeah, you're going to shove the nose down the ground. Believe it or not, with the pilot house on, I run 4 mile an hour faster because it gives me more trim and tilt in the back. So I can actually get 4 mile an hour faster with
that's nice.
That thing on the front of it.
I would have never thought that.
No,
it's weird.
That's good.
Yeah, I would have like a Wilson volleyball in there and like a little hula girl, decals everywhere. I mean, I would have it like it would look very homey if it was mine.
I need to. I'll look into that. I want to build another one. I've actually been combing the country looking for another, but I've had several 22-footers sent to me. Hey, here's a 22-footer that's 8 foot wide, but everybody's wanting to get bigger and longer, for these boats. And I'm going to tell you, my favorite boat is the older 21-foot, 88-inch wide, because you can power it with a 140 and run 44, 45 mile an hour. You take the same length boat and you make it an 8-footer. If you ain't got 200 horsepower on it, you're struggling. So I want another hull just like what I got. And if I get another one just like what I got, I'm probably going to build something closer to versus the big square one. I'll probably build something a little bit more aerodynamic, split console.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Be fun. Be fun.
Yeah.
Then I'll decide which boat to keep, or both.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a ton of fun. But building that stuff's kind of down your alley anyhow.
It's fun for me. It's always been, if I can't buy it, or even if I can buy it, I just like to make it. I mean, I grew up not loaded with money, but we wasn't starving, but we grew up where if you wanted something, you figured out a way to build it yourself.
Exactly. Make it happen.
Make it happen. Yeah, I couldn't afford to buy. I mean, I've told people, I said I couldn't afford to buy, in my mind anyway. There's no way I could reason out the concept of spending $50,000-$60,000 to buy a boat.
Right.
Exactly like what I got that I spent $1,500 building.
Makes
It
a
took
world
me 3
difference.
months, but I spent $1,500.
We
Yeah.
have
Unbelievable.
a post in chat, Jeff. Palmetto Cat says, will you have Jeff go over the details and how to sign up?
The sign-ups will be at the actual boat landing, the day of the tournament. Like I say, go to Manning, I believe it's Manning's Grand Slam. Richard's probably on here. He's the one that started that page. And I got to thank Richard, too, because it had got to where I used to do it all the time with my mother. It was a tournament that my mother fished with me, and that's kind of where that was our thing. And I kind of got out of it and hadn't really done it, but maybe once or twice since her passing. And Richard talked me into it last year. He said, hey, I want to call it Manning Grand Slam. Will you fish it? You don't have to, but if you would. And I was like, yeah, I need to get back into this. So Richard's the one that's actually got a page up that talks about how to sign up. But actually, we're just going to sign up at the boat landing. So you just get there early enough and sign up beforehand. No pre-registration or nothing like that's necessary.
And how much is the entry fee?
The entry fee is going to be $50. We make nothing off.
Man, that's a breaker.
And see, that's why we used to do it just for fun. And literally the way it breaks down is, and this is what makes it interesting too, $10 for the channel, $10 goes to channel, $10 goes to blue, $10 goes to flathead, and then you got that $20 bonus that goes to the Grand Slam. We've had several events where only one boat came in with a Grand Slam. And so essentially they pull into the ramp, and like I say, you got 20 boats, they just walked off with $1,000, so, but you just never know. But again, no matter how bad your night's going, all you need is most time a 5-pound channel cat will lock up the channel cat pot, believe it or not. I think last couple of years, 20, 30 pound, or back when we used to do it, if you caught a 20-pound flathead, you locked it up. Last year we had two around 40-something pounds. So, actually probably had way more than that, but it makes it neat. And the concept for it is too, is if you have a guy come in, we tell people, listen, don't bring your fish up, right away. And I want to stress this again. We want to try to keep the fish healthy. So when you come into the landing, if you've got, I'm not downgrading anybody's catch. I'm not. I don't want it to sound like that. But if you've got a 15-pound blue and a 15-pound flathead and a 5-pound or 2-pound channel, and what we normally do is we tell everybody, okay, if you've got big fish, we're not going to showboat them. Let's get them up here and get them weighed. So if you get somebody up there, they set the benchmark. You got a 40-pound blue on the books and a 30-pound flathead and a 5-pound channel and a 80-pound, Grand Slam. Turn your fish loose. Don't hold them in your tank any longer.
Right.
If you, I'm not, like I say, I know everybody's proud of their fish. Let's just get them back in the water. And then you can come up and you can tell anybody, it took 80 pounds to win the Grand Slam. You can tell everybody you had 75 pounds for the Grand Slam. I don't care. But that way these fish get back in the water and we don't have a bunch of fish at the scales. That's the purpose for it. And like I say, you could go out there and only catch one fish all night. You catch that one channel cat and you still may come into the money no matter, you may come in with 5 pounds and
exactly
you come out with as much money as the guy.
And it really helps give a lot of these guys that aren't tournament anglers and they don't really know, their skill level is, they're novices, and they can actually get in this tournament and win the channel cat pot pretty easily because chances are a lot of these guys are going to be using processed baits. So that's going to increase their chances of catching a channel. And they could kick a lot of these guys' butts that are using natural baits. And that's what I tell people. Hey, go out there and if you're good at catching blue cats, go just target the blue cat. And it's not this isn't your typical tournament atmosphere either. Everything is kind of laid back. It's fun. Everybody is chill. Nobody's like stressed trying to win. Nobody's taking it extremely seriously. Everybody's just in a good mood, and it's just all for fun. The atmosphere is just an awesome atmosphere, a good culture to be around out there.
Yeah,
And
you'll
I
have a little trash
understand
talk.
that's a pretty fun
Absolutely.
lake to fish. I understand that's a great lake to fish.
It's a trophy fishery, in my opinion. There's like Jeff Manning on our show present right now. He has a 80+ pound blue out of the lake. I've got a couple 60+ pound blues, and I don't know how many 50+ pound blues out of that lake. And there's no telling how many Jeff's caught. Dieter Melhorn and Jack.
40-pound plus flatheads. It's not even funny. I mean, you can go out.
I haven't.
You never know.
Now I've caught the biggest flathead I've caught on Wiley has been I want to say 30 pounds. I haven't caught a giant flathead, but there are a good many flatheads in Wiley.
Now, was it last year or a year before when Dieter and Big Nasty was in one of them tournaments down there and caught a big gold fish?
Oh God! Yeah.
It wasn't your tournament though, was it?
No, that was the YouTube tournament,
wasn't it?
That was James's.
Yeah, that's what. But still, them two caught a great.
Was a good fish. That's very good fish.
I think
we have 100-pound stringers.
I think he studied Dieter a little bit because he didn't get to catch that fish, and Jeff did.
Exactly. Hey.
Yeah, that's a plus. That's a plus.
Yeah, I was so glad. Like everybody's like, Big Nasty, congratulations. I'm like, yeah, he caught it in Dieter's boat, but hey.
That's hilarious.
I'm not gonna tell him, you know what I'm saying?
Oh man. I would have to if we got to make it out there. I don't know anything about what's going on in chat. I can't keep up with it all, but if we happened to make that trip, I would have to spend some time with old Dieter out there because, man, I give him so much crap. I feel like he deserves to give me some back.
Oh, he dishes it. He can take it and dish it. I've known Dieter for, oh Lord, 25 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he can.
Oh yeah.
He takes his licks, but he likes to give it out a lot more than he likes to take it. He wants to admit it.
At the Catfish conference in different places, and we really had some great times. And him and I've had some really good times online visiting about stuff that's not important and stuff that really was important, like conservation efforts and stuff like that. And we don't agree on everything, but we agree on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I remember that show Dieter was on, Catfish Weekly, and I was looking forward to this going at it, and you guys ended up agreeing on more than what everybody thought. Yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought we'd go at it heads and after, but it was only a couple things, and it wasn't, it wasn't that much. But I love old Dieter, man, I really do. He does a lot of good things for the sport, and them's the kind of guys that we need to keep in there, kind of like Jeff and you and so many of the others. And there's a bunch of those kind of guys in chat tonight.
Jeff, I'm struggling in the Grand Slam tournament. I'm struggling on catching the big flathead. I got the big blues figured out. I can catch big blues. The channel, I can catch a channel. The flatheads, I can catch a flathead, but it's normally a 5-pound flathead. I catch little flatheads. What am I doing wrong, man? Come August 15th.
Quit using
the time
crickets,
of
first of all.
I use crickets to catch the bait.
You just got to upsize your bait to that much instead of this much.
I mean, what is it? What do you? August 15th. What's going on? It's post spawn, obviously. It's good time. Good. It's a month after the spawn's ended, so that's not an issue. What kind of water depth are we looking at? I mean, are you looking at the water temp? Are you letting the water temp dictate the depth you start fishing? How are you targeting the flatheads? Are you using just live bait? Are you using cut bait? How are you going about catching a good sized tournament flathead that time of year?
I think a lot of people get hung up. And I'm now before I say this, let me put it to you. I'm one of those type people that I feel if you fish like everybody else fishes, you catch what everybody else catches. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is I know a lot of people go out there, they target structure, and they're fishing for these big flatheads. And I do sometimes, wintertime. But once the water gets warm, I rarely, and I mean, I know a lot of people are going to say I'm crazy on chat. I rarely fish structure. Once the water gets warm, especially post spawn, I rarely, if ever, fish a tree fall. I rarely, if ever, fish rock piles. For me, because I fish at night mostly, but for me, like especially in August. In August, I'll get out in the mouths of these major creeks and get on those flats, and I will just fan cast those flats, and I catch a lot more 30 to 40-pound flatheads doing that than I do fishing in the treetops. Because I think mostly that time of year you get a lot more. Once they start feeding, I mean, when they go into structure, most of the time they're in structure for cover. Yes, they can eat there, but when they get ready to eat, they're not just going to sit there and wait for it most of the time. I mean, you will catch them that way, and you can throw baits outside of structure, and they'll come out and get it. I actually got a rig I use just specifically for when I'm fishing near structure. But I'll get out on these flats that's, there's structure in the area, but I'm not concentrating on that structure. And it seems like I catch a lot more of those road 35, 40. My biggest flathead on Wiley in my boat was 55.9. That was, Lord, 7 years ago. But I know there's bigger in there. You just rarely hear of that rare air over 50 pound out of Wiley. But the 40-pound class, I can catch them. I can target them pretty good in that time of year.
Now, when you say flats around the mouths of creeks, are you counting the point? Are you counting that as the part of the flat?
Yeah, not so much getting. I mean, I'll fish the point some, but it's kind of funny. I think what happens, and I think the reason why it works is I catch all my bluegill in August. I don't fish the banks. I go out there and fish the flats, and I catch those big shell crackers and some of those bigger bluegill. You'll see them on your finder, and especially the perch. You'll see these massive schools of perch out here on these flats out in the middle of the water column. They're not up against the bank. And after the spawn, these flatheads, they do run the banks still, but you look at, there's a lot of smaller bluegill.
So get off the banks. See, that's what I'm doing wrong. I'm on the banks, man. I got to get off the banks.
Yeah, I like fishing the banks, but if you see me fish the banks, I'm throwing a 1.5 pound, 2 pound crappie on the bank and reeling him to where I can hear him splashing in the water. I mean, and that's when it ain't worked on the flats. I will actually do that sometimes. And it's pretty neat when you hear the fish jumping out of the water and he's trying to outrun something. Then you see the rod double over and fold around the boat. But me personally, I prefer open water for big flatheads. Open water in the mouths.
Gotcha. There you go. That's a great tip.
Great tip for somebody going to fish that tournament. Speaking of which, Ryan Swank says, may have been asked, this is my first Grand Slam, but is there a rod limit?
No rod limit and no person limit. Just make sure your boat is capable and safe to carry the people you put on it. Like I say, this tournament is based, there's money and there's a lot of money involved, which it used to not be that way, but now there's a lot of money involved. But the reason why the entry fee was so cheap was we wanted people to have fun. We wanted people to bring their families, bring five of your buddies. I don't want to say, hey, you have to pick between your 3 buddies who you're going to have on the boat with you during this tournament. You can get 4 of your friends, each of you pitching, a little bit over $10 a piece, and you can go have a good evening on the water.
Slacks. Yeah, slacks. I like that.
Yeah, good deal. Good. Thank you, Kevin, for posting up a link to the Grand Slam Facebook page. That'll be very helpful to anybody that's looking to find out information on there that we don't get to tonight. Gary Borders made a post a minute ago, but it's got away from me. Thank you, Pond Rivers. I kind of fond of this shirt myself.
Gary Borders. Well, he mentioned getting bait at Jamie K Outdoors.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen something right after that other post, but I must be overlooking it. If Gary, if you have a post that we missed, go ahead and redo it so we don't miss. I try to catch as many of them as we can, but
he said he caught a 39.6 on a flathead on a couple weeks ago on a small perch head.
Cool.
And that's funny. I catch most of my flatheads, especially in the wintertime, I catch them on cut bait.
Yep. I've caught a lot of, I dare say most of my flatheads have probably come on cut bait.
How
The
many?
reason I like live bait is just because most time if it's a big live bait, which is funny because on Watery I was goofing off using live baits about 2 years ago, and literally it was just one right after the other. I could put cut bait out, never got a bite. I'm talking about blues too. Never got a bite. Started putting out big live baits, and it was literally as fast as they would hit the bottom. If it wasn't flipping and jumping, they wouldn't eat it. But
that's weird. Yeah, blues and flatheads will eat the heck out of cut bait, and blues will eat the heck out of live bait.
Well, I tell everybody I ain't never seen a fish with a fillet knife in his pocket. So
I know that's right.
I mean, they all eat live bait. I hate to tell people they argue with me every once in a while. Oh, you got a cut bait. No, they all hit live bait.
Yeah, there ain't no cut bait out there naturally.
James would like to know, how many do you think will be fishing in the tournament?
Oh wow! I actually applied for the permit from DNR for 75 boats, and I'm really beginning to think that might not be enough with all the questions I'm getting. Last year, I expected 20 because me and Richard talked about it. I said, well, if we get 20 boats, it'd be a great crowd. And when I got there about an hour later because I had to move my daughter into college that day, and he was already at 40. So I'm like, well, I guess we can kiss that goodbye. So I'm guessing we're going to have 50 plus.
That's what keeping it real. Let's see, keeping it real fishing said 50 plus.
Yep, that's Richard.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to get.
Richard's keeping it real, and Manning is reeling the blues.
Reeling the blues. I get them confused all the time.
I do too.
Man, there are a lot of people talking about catching nice flatheads out there, 40 pounders and stuff. 40-pound flathead is a great fish.
Oh yeah. JR just needs to step up his game. That's all there is to it. If he can find out 40 pounds. I don't know. Did you see the picture from, I think it was last year, where I took the reporter for the Sportsman, and we caught one that was 48 pounds. It was a flathead, and we thought we was going to get skunked, threw out a little tiny piece of cut bait the size of my thumb, hit the bottom. 5 minutes later, rod started ticking. I told him to grab it. He reeled it in as a little 1 pound channel cap. I said, great. The skunk's off the boat. I just turned through the same bait right back out, set it in the holder. 2 minutes, rod started ticking again. I said, catch him. And he's an older gentleman. And he goes, no, you catch him. I said, nope, you catch it. He grabs the rod. He brings this big flathead. And like I say, it was just short of 48 pounds. But it had a 14-inch bite on its side. And I've got a picture of it on my YouTube page. And actually, I think it's in one of my YouTube videos. But literally, this fish had a bite.
I saw that. And there's no mistaking it.
Yeah, it's huge.
There's no mistaking it. It's definitely a fish bite on it.
Everybody goes, oh, it's a rash. And then I take the picture, and you can literally see the half moon around this entire midsection of the 48-pound fish. And you look at the jaw comparison, and it had to be at least 6 inches wider, the mouth, whatever bit him. And
Mac Byram would love to hear that story, because Mac is an advocate of, if you catch a fish and the bait is still on the hook, you know how a lot of times the fish won't swallow the bait, or if it'll be like up on the line or the leader or whatever. He says reuse it. And that's what you did to catch this fish, though. You threw that same bait out there.
There's a difference. See, I was lazy.
So evidently,
there's a big
it works.
There. I was disgusted because we've been out there for 5 hours. We'd caught one, and the whole purpose for this guy being with me was, the whole premise for the article was catching a big flathead. That's the whole article was supposed to be me or him catching a big flathead.
And you nailed it.
But yeah, but 4 hours later, after one channel
catch, better late than never.
After that, we ended up catching like 6 more flatheads from 40 to 30 pounds. I mean, it was just like, once they started, it was on.
Awesome. That's a good day.
I like the part of the story where it caught that fish in the side, because this time of the year, I have caught channel cat, blues, flatheads, all the above, and they've all had bite marks on them during spawn. They come off. I've had them to where above their eyes, across the whole top of their head, where one had it in its mouth. And I'm telling you, when they squeeze down that far up and they get away from it, ain't because they was trying to eat it. If they was trying to eat it, they got that much of it in his mouth, they'd ate the whole fish. Yep. And these was 15, 20, 30-pound fish.
Yeah.
I've seen them with them in the side like that. I've seen them on the side of the head. I've seen them in the tail. I think they just get too close during spawn, and whatever's there, they nail. And they're not trying to eat them. They just want them away.
Exactly. But I think in some cases they could be eating them. I mean, a lot of these 90, these 80, 90, 100-pound fish, they can eat a teenage fish. I mean, it's hard to think.
They probably eat them daily.
Well, I seen a 15-pound flathead that, well, he weighed about 23 pounds, but he should have been 15 pound. Me and my son-in-law, again, hand to the sky. We seen a fish struggling on the surface, looked, and he had a blue cat hanging out of his mouth, about a 6-7 pound blue cat. This fish only weighed about 15 pounds. And like I say, it's going to sound like a lie, but it's a true, honest to God story. I scooped the fish up, and I was trying, and this is when Wiley didn't have a big population of flatheads. So I literally was trying to get the blue out of this flathead's mouth. My son-in-law watching it. If we'd had a YouTube then, it'd have been 1 million views overnight.
Oh, yeah.
I held it up. I'm trying to wiggle the blue out, and the blue is literally plumb past his dorsals. I can't get it out, and the flathead started flopping, landed in the floor of my boat, and finished eating that fish. When he hit, it must have jarred the gills loose, and he swallowed that fish in the floor of my boat, not being in the water, like a snake. Literally worked that blue down his mouth. And when I picked him up, about 4 inches of the blue's tail was hanging out of his mouth, and you could see where it was folded up, and he had a big bulge on his side. And I'm sitting there looking at my son-in-law. I go, I don't know if he'll swim off or not. And we set him in the water, and he struggled for about a minute or two, and then that tail went to slapping him out of sight. He just ate probably.
They're definitely cannibalistic.
In one meal.
They're a cannibalistic species.
Oh, yeah,
I catch them all the time, and you'll see the peg fin of another catfish coming out the one that you caught's butthole.
Yeah, or sticking through their side. I've seen them sticking completely through their belly.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
That'll heal up, but that mark will always be there. I've caught them with them marks, and there's only one thing that'll poke out like that. Really think about that. What could they eat besides another catfish and its fin poke through them that will poke out like that? I mean, there's nothing else that I can think of.
Nope.
One of a kind holds back. Okay. Hey, Brad Bex, how are you doing?
What's your favorite bait, Jeff? Perch or bluegill for flatheads?
My favorite would be my go-to's perch. And the main reason why is because the skin's a lot tougher, so you lose less baits. And they stay active longer. Bluegill, they die on you pretty bad, especially around here after a while. But now, big bluegill, if I can get the big shell crackers as big as your hand, I'll use them. But for me, I like perch.
Me too.
Plus, you can catch 500 of them in an hour on Wiley, so that makes it nice too.
Exactly.
Welcome to the show, Stacy Gaston. We're glad to see you in here tonight.
And you can launch them.
You can. That's what I mean. You don't worry about throwing them off. You can.
No, sir.
Now, we're talking about them white perch.
Yes, sir.
Good.
You can launch them. It's like you're using a 12-ounce striper for bait, basically.
They're aerodynamic.
They're tough. Yeah, they're tough, and they're streamlined, and you can trim that dorsal. I like to trim that dorsal a little bit because that dorsal's hell. Yeah. Dorsal will tear you up, and I'm sure they use it as a defense mechanism for predator fish. So if you trim it up, it lets them get it down their gullet a little easier, and it gives you a little more bite on the hook. So you can really.
I always cut the tail off for me. I always trim that tail back. Not enough to get in the flesh. Not enough to get in the flesh, but I'll trim it back. Right. It has about a quarter inch.
Trim it because you don't want it out there swimming all around and getting your lines tangled up and stuff.
I've had to run to 45
limited to an area. Do I now?
I've had them run from 45 foot deep all the way to the surface trying to outrun a bait before.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and it was during a tournament, and we were going, I said, look at that flathead. He's chasing a school of perch. And my son-in-law goes, where? Then all of a sudden you see the perch come out of the water, the flathead swirls at it, and this was like in December. And I'm going, man, I'd love to catch that fish. And then all of a sudden we heard the rod from the front of the boat swing around the boat, and it was my bait that I threw on the other side of the boat. He had ran it all the way to the surface.
Now that's some highly sought after footage right there. People, we don't see enough of that as on our filmmakers, our videographers, our YouTubers. We don't get enough of that type of footage. I'd like to see more of that.
That's why I went to the loop feature on my GoPro now. I mean, I've lost so much footage by waiting till the action starts and then hitting record. So now
see, that's what I do.
On the loop, and the minute I catch a fish and the scene's over, I turn it off, turn it back on. It saves that loop.
That's what I'm going to start doing. That's what I'm going to start doing. You got to. You don't
want to miss that one pull down. I mean, the 82-pound blue cat, that was the first time I ever had the GoPro on my boat. The first day I put the GoPro on the boat when I caught that 82-pounder. And, and I told everybody, I said, that was just a pure, blind squirrel. I mean, literally, I had one piece of bait the size of my thumb left, huge baits out, one piece the size of my thumb. Well, I ain't going to go home with one piece of bait, throw it out, set it in the holder, sat down, rod folded over. It was
You're so lucky. You're so lucky.
I tell
he gets this fish in, Lyle. He gets this fish in, and then he releases it and everything, and he picks the leader up that he had just literally caught the fish on. He takes the leader and he pulls it and pops it.
Man.
Yeah, because the leader had
the rope when I was reeling him in. I felt him wrap around the anchor. It's a crazy event. Trust me, that video there. I get a lot of I catch a lot of flack over the Jesus comment, but I was tired.
I like how you said, "Look at that! Look at that!"
Yeah, I might have acted like a little girl for a little bit.
Would you look at that?
Doc Lang is in chat tonight. Welcome, Doc, my old buddy. Glad to see you made it in here tonight for a little Jeff Manning episode. Man, it's so funny that guys that fish a lot have them kind of stories. Doc has told some great stories over the years on when we was doing shows together. And, we have a few, and JR's got some. But that's the first one I ever heard where anybody just pulled their leader line apart like that. But it can happen. And if you'd had to fight that fish another 15 seconds, you probably wouldn't have got him.
Yeah, I knew, because what's bad is the minute the fish rod went down, the fish was peeling drag, super hard current. And you got to understand, I only use 20-pound test line. I mean, that's all I use is 20-pound test line back then. Andy Monster line. It's tough line, but still, it's only 20-pound test line. And I'm fighting this fish, and he's just about spooled me. And I said, well, I've got to pull the anchors. When I went to pull the anchor, the front anchor locked up, and I couldn't get it loose. So I started the motor and drugged the front anchor to break it loose, and I forgot about it while I'm fighting the fish drifting downstream. So when the fish went above the boat, he wrapped around the anchor that I left hanging down. So I literally felt the line going tick, 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 tick. And then when I realized what it was, I said a few cuss words, ran to the front of the boat, and then went around the anchor, and I was going the wrong way. So then I went back the other way about 3 rounds, and then I felt him come loose. And then when I got him in, like I say, I was just like, but the minute I felt the ticking, I instantly went to don't let him jerk the rod the whole time. I'm thinking just let, if he moves his head, follow him with the rod.
Go with him. There you go.
Yeah, playing.
Were there any boats around? Were there any other boats around when you caught this fish?
No, there wasn't a boat.
Because if there would have been another boat around and it had it been me, I would have been like, "Hey, help! I need some help. Come lend me a hand."
Cindy caught that big fish up in a tournament up in North Missouri one time, and some guys was going right past us as she put in a boat. Jason and Troy said, "You need us to help you get that in the boat?" And today, if they'd asked me that, I'd probably say, "Yeah, come on and help me get it in here." But we had lines out, they had lines out, and it was in a tournament. Didn't want to mess that up. But to be quite honest with you, it was about all we could do to get it in the boat. And today, if I would say, "Yeah, come on over here," and
everybody wants a big fish, but these big fish they'll kick your butt.
Well, he will, and that one was nasty. It's the one that had been down at the grain mill eating soybeans all night, and when I lifted it up, it just crapped that meal down my leg and inside the boat. And there ain't nothing smells any worse than one's been eaten at a grain mill. Oh, it's terrible.
One that's been eating it. What did you say, Lyle?
Soybeans is what had been eaten. It fed up at a grain mill, and we was about a mile from that, and they come up on the outside. There was 3 of them there, big fish, and they just rested on the outside of an island. And man, he was nasty. Of course, they had no wash down, nothing. Had 5-gallon bucket, letting it run out the bottom of the boat. But you couldn't stand it. It smelled so bad.
Some of the fish that we catch on our local lakes, I've caught them on Lake Wiley, where you catch them up from deep, you bring them up from deep, and you get them in the boat, and they got a smell.
Yeah,
they smell to them. I don't know if they've been down there on the bottom in that decaying, non-oxygenated part of the water column down there on the bottom where everything's going to die, and I don't know if they just been resting in that crap, and it's just that, or I don't know what it is.
I'm still getting over the stuff you was talking about, smelling them muzzle beds smelling so bad from last week's show. Man, I can't get over them things smelling that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't need any of them.
Yeah, it'd be hard to eat a fish that smelled like that.
Couldn't do it.
But
couldn't do it. Couldn't.
It kind of gives you an idea of what the fish are doing, though. I mean, if you catch a fish and it smells like that, then that fish is not being pelagic. That fish is not out here, roaming the channel, going all over the place. He's basically been dormant. If he smells that bad, then he's been sitting dormant, I think, in an area.
I would agree with that. I sure would.
Now, it's not very often you get fish that smell like that, but I've caught one or two that.
I would think that'd be a good thing.
Exactly.
You guys in chat.
Wintertime's not as bad.
Yeah. You guys in chat, if you have any questions for Jeff Manning, whether it pertains to the tournament or not, if you have questions about his videos, some of the stuff that he's built, like his live well or his bait tank, stuff like that, now is the time. We have him on here for another 15 minutes or 20. And if you got any questions for a guy like this, get him on here so he can get them answered. It's not every day we get somebody like this on here can answer these questions for us.
Flint Hill said, I smell like that when I'm dormant.
Yeah, you're right, James. There's a lot of YouTube channels in here watching this show tonight. Recommendations for hotel accommodations, Jeff?
Well, there's plenty of hotels local, but you're not going to find any right next to the boat ramp. We got a Holiday Inn Express in Belmont. Belmont. And that's probably 6 miles from the boat ramp.
Yep. You got a Holiday Inn Express. You got Motel 6, Econo Lodge on 321 South, which is not very far from Lake Wiley. And then you got several hotels right there in Fort Mill around Cabela's, that area.
That's right. I forgot about the Cabela's around.
Which again, that's not very far. And these hotels they're not very expensive down here in the South. You're probably looking at anywhere from $60 to $100, somewhere in that range, I would imagine.
That's not bad. Yes, James, you're correct. Congratulations to K&B for hitting 1,000 subs. They got that last night. That's really cool. Do you like fishing deep or shallow water?
Me, I'm a deep water fisherman. Now I do fish shallow, but I'm one of those people where the one part of the lake that rarely ever changes, no matter what the weather does, no matter what the conditions are, no matter what the temperatures are outside, the most stable spot in any lake is the deep water. Temperature just don't vary that much.
Right,
so
I
target that deep water ledges year round. And people ask me, where should I go fish? And they probably get tired of hearing me say, find you a deep water ledge, set up right on the side of it, fish the top, fish the side, fish the bottom, and you'll know in an hour what depth to fish. If everything's on top, move on top.
Yeah.
And watch your rods. I mean, I tell everybody, hey, when I set up most of the time, if I have no clue where I'm doing, if I'm just going out there blind, I find a location that has deep water cover, deep water ledges, shallow, like a point and a flat. And I'll try to anchor where I can to every one of them at one time. And it's amazing.
Compounding structure.
Yeah, and that way you can watch to see, because it's amazing how many times you'll start catching fish on the right side of the boat. Then you'll start catching them sort of off the back of the boat. And then you'll catch them off the left side of the boat. And the ones on the right just quit biting. Well, you know what I do? I pull up stakes. I head downstream or upstream, whichever direction I felt like they were moving, and I'll try to get in front of them. And I've done that before and go for 8 hours and literally move 700-800 yards down one ledge and just keep following the same school of fish down the ledge. So I try to hit as much cover and much different depths as I can until I figure it out.
Great information there. Team Keeping It Real Fishing says go over safekeeping of their fish during tournament hours in the live well.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to bring up. On my boat's set up with a freshwater live well, and what that means is my boat literally, once it's got a 70-gallon live well on it. Once I put fish in the live well, I turn on a 500-gallon pump that's mounted in the bottom of my boat. That pump never turns off. It's constantly circulating water from the time I start to the time I end. It's fresh water, because what hurts these fish mainly is once you catch them, they're going to start venting. They're going to start using the bathroom. They're going to start puking up all the contents in their stomach. The water gets nasty. If you don't do nothing but aerate nasty water, you're really not helping the fish out much. You will make them sickly. You have to do the best you can. We're suggesting people, since it's at the time of year it's going to be, carry some ice bottles, some milk jugs that are froze. Throw them in there. If you have a sealed live well, like I'm talking about, where you're not pumping fresh water in all the time, turn that water over at least every hour. Add half of whatever your live well holds. If it holds 50 gallons, at least add 25 gallons.
Yeah, make sure you got a bucket on your boat. Make sure you got at least a little 3-gallon bucket, and bucket some of that old water out and bucket some good fresh water in.
Yeah. If you don't have I keep on my boat, even though I've got a pump like that, it's like when I caught that big fish, that wasn't quick enough. I wanted to get as much water in the tank as I could. I keep a separate bilge pump that's hooked to a hose pipe that I just plug into the boat. I drop it over the side. I pump my tank full, and I had a boat on it. And, if you don't have a freshwater system like me, get you just a standard old bilge pump, hook a hose pipe to it, a 5-6 foot section of hose pipe, drop it in the water, pump your tank full, drop it back in your tank and pump it out about every 30 minutes. Pump it out.
There you go. Exactly.
Especially once you get some big fish. And that's the other beauty of this tournament, is the fact that, once you caught a blue, no matter how many blues you catch after that, you don't have to keep stacking these fish in the live well. You know what I mean? The max fish you should have in that live well is really 3. But, I've got a big enough tank where I may keep a second fish of each species, and I'm capable of it. But I'm gonna tell you, if I see a fish that looks like it's stressed, it's going back in the water. I don't care what it weighs. I'm gonna get rid of it, because might as well let it survive. I'm not gonna let it die in my live well.
Yeah.
You treat these fish basically like you're taking care of bait. You know how hard it is to keep herring or shad alive. That's right. Treat the catfish the same way. Keep some good fresh oxygenated water cycled through there.
I like water in and out all the time. Big Bird's catfishing. I want Jeff to teach me how to build a live well. Well, I gotta say I do too. That live well is one of the coolest things in the world, and you can make it fit any spot on your boat if you do it like Jeff does, and you don't no welding. It's just awesome, man. I bet I've watched that video of yours a dozen times.
Thank you. It's what's funny is the spur of the moment videos I do are always way better than the ones I try to sit down and plan them out. That video there was, I just needed a live well, so let me just film me building my live well.
Justin's Finish says, Jeff, can you teach me to weld, please? That's going to cost me, man, Jeff.
No,
I'm sure you could.
I don't know if that is only if he'll finish doing the welding for me after I get him trained up.
Well,
I'm tired.
Can't weld aluminum.
I'm okay at aluminum. I'm not great at it, because if I was better at aluminum, I'd be building a boat from scratch. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'd be building one from total scratch if I was.
Yeah, that's an interesting question from James Dockery. Or let's see, I lost track of who it was. Here it is. Betty Jean Cross. Jeff, what is your favorite species to target, excluding cats? I've never asked you that. I have no idea.
That's a very easy question for me to answer. Crappie, or whatever you want.
There you go. That's bait, man.
I was more known for crappie than crappie before catfish.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna have to teach me how to long line one of these days. I still haven't tried doing that.
Now, see, that's the funny part. I prefer long lining for crappie. I love long lining for crappie. Now I do brush pile, and I think my crappie background actually made me a better catfisherman, because I was so used to being able to pick out a brush pile going down the lake at 4 or 5 mile an hour and instantly knowing hey, I could literally turn around and throw my jig in that brush pile without having to go back and spin over the top of it again, because you get that little sense of knowing where the stuff is that you see on your screen. And so when you start catfishing, I'll target a brush pile, and I'll throw out, and people used to laugh at me. I took a guy with me, and I said, well, the brush pile's over there about 40 feet, 50 feet. Just throw it just short of that. And I threw out, and I would pick the line up, and I'd say, "Feel it, it's over the limbs of the brush pile." And he's like, "How do you know that?" I go, "Well, crappie fishing, you got to be in the brush, on the brush." So I think it makes me a better fisherman. But I shouldn't say that. I would rather anchor for catfish and not drift, but I'd rather drift for crappie and not anchor. So I don't know.
Very good. For those of you that's interested, tonight after Catfish Weekly is over, Chunky Cat's Fishing will be on live fishing from, I believe, the Potomac River. So if you don't get enough catfishing in this hour, take a look at Elston, because he'll be out there catching some fish and lighting up the world with them
Chunky
rods.
Cats. He's out there on the isn't he on like the Potomac?
Yes, sir.
No.
He's a hoot, man. I'm gonna tell you, he's high energy. If I had the energy he did, I'd get some shit done during the day. I mean,
I was listening to somebody, another YouTuber, the other day, and someone asked something, and they referred Chunky Cats to him.
Yeah,
I think it was Justin Johnston. I think
round good chasing after them rods and stuff. He's got more energy than I got. I promise you that.
That's work. I'm not working anymore. That's too much work. That's the reason I target just big fish. I don't only catch but 2, maybe 3 a night.
Something that I've told people for the last 6 years or so or longer, to be successful online, you have to have an entertainment factor. JR has an entertainment factor. Jeff Manning has an entertainment factor. Dieter Melhorn has an entertainment factor. If you are not entertaining, people will watch you because they want to see what you got. But if you can't keep their interest time after time, they will eventually quit watching you. Dieter's a prime example. He keeps people interested. Not every show, but almost every show.
I'm about done with the bait videos, Dieter. Come on. Come on, guys. Get your brain working. Let's get some better, more innovative content. Let's leave
we've got like top 10 now.
He's got to have like 50 bait videos.
I like them. But anyhow, watch Chunky Cat Fishing if you ain't got enough fishing in tonight, because I promise you, Elstan will keep you entertained. He's extremely high energy and a lot of fun, and he'll be on there for a while. So that'll give you something else to do after we're done.
Yeah, I have to give Dieter a hard time because Catfish Dave gave him a hard time the other day about his bait videos. So,
well, I like them.
Pile it on there.
Hey, no matter what you put out, somebody's looking for it, and somebody's going to watch it.
That's true. Now, you're talking about bait videos. There's not a lot of videos, but down in Florida, I'm trying to think of his name. Can't think of it right now. Anyhow, opened up a new bluegill baitfish YouTube or a Facebook channel. Fantastic baitfish.
I was about to say blacktip.
No. He's a cat guy. Guides down there. No, he fishes for everything too, though. He's a big deal. Blacktip's a big deal.
Oh yeah, I want to say Blacktip's got a video fishing the Mississippi River for blue catfish.
Have, but I enjoy those. I enjoy catching bluegill and panfish, and I like watching videos of guys that do.
I was this close to going on a trip this coming week for tarpon down in Florida, and all paid for. All I had to do was show up, and my douchebag supervisor wouldn't let me off work, so yeah, missed out on that one.
Oh man, I wonder how many times people said that about me when they used to work for me. Don't really care. It doesn't matter now.
He was like, "Nah, can't do it, guy. It's full. You should have put it in earlier." And I was like, "God."
And that would be some fun, though. I've never been tarpon fishing.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of kinds of fish that I would like to catch, and I know this is kind of off of the subject of Jeff Manning, but I'd like to go salmon fishing in Alaska one time because I always wanted to go to Alaska. And I'd like to catch a redtail out of the Amazon River. Other than that, as far as saltwater fish, I could care less about any of the rest of them.
I want a giant sturgeon out of Hell's Canyon.
That would be fun too. Yeah, I wouldn't pass a trip like that.
Now, I love giant sturgeon. Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
that's Jeremy Wade caught a giant sturgeon on one of the episodes of River Monsters.
Yeah, them guys, 7-8 foot,
50 long, wide, and the roller rod, and it was bent over. So, where's Hell's Canyon?
I think it's in Colorado.
Okay.
Oregon or Washington, isn't it?
You're right. Because my buddy's from Oregon. That's right.
Yeah, he's got one that said 8 hours. Like that, I'm in.
I mean, I couldn't imagine fighting a fish in current for 8 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that just blows my mind.
It better be a bent butt in the rod holder, and like I better have like somebody to relieve me every now and then.
Yeah, he's got it all on video. So what's funny? All on video. And they said this fish literally jumped 5 feet out of the water, an 8 foot long fish, and literally came 5 feet out of the water right when they lost it. It finally broke the 200-pound test line, but he said it was up and down this river canyon for hours and hours and hours.
That is a heartbreaker.
I got to tell you, I just couldn't do it for 8 hours. 45 minutes on one time was the most I ever put in on one, and I don't want to do that again. I just pass it off to somebody else, let them have it for a while, because I'm not, I don't do the things I used to do, and I'm not in the shape I once was. And that part's probably never going to get any better. In fact, I know it's not.
It feels like 2 hours anyway.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do anything to get that part of me back where it was. So, I just pass it off and trade it around a little bit or something. But I would like to do some of that stuff. But we went saltwater fishing. I didn't find that entertaining whatsoever. Maybe it's just me. We had a good time, but I wouldn't spend a bunch of money to do it. But I would catch a redtail. They're pretty awesome.
That's 217,927 acres is Hell's Canyon.
Yeah, it's big. Isn't that on the White River or the Snake River?
Well, it's in southeastern Wallowa County, Oregon.
Remember, but that'd be fun. Jeff, you ever go? Let me know. That'd be
absolutely.
A blast. Yeah. That would be a hoot.
Or you go to Wiley and catch some of these big giant buffalo too. That's pretty good fun. Have you done that yet, JR?
I have. I've dreamed about it. That's on my bucket list.
You got to get on.
I have no idea how to catch a wild carp.
Them were good eating too.
I mean, are these guys? Would you take pack bait that you would take to like one of the pay ponds?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my biggest one out of Wiley, it was somewhere just shy of 70 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it was caught on soybean.
You catch them ones like that on the Mississippi River, them big old buffalo in the current they got. Oh, dude.
Those
run gill nets for them. I mean, don't people get upset, but we used to catch the buffalo, because we would farm I was of New Madrid. You'd be plowing a field one weekend, and after the thaw, you're out there and you're using a 15 to 18 foot gill net in the same field, putting the net across where you drive the tractor through, because that's where all the buffalo would swim through. And we would fill 3 or 4 john boats up with buffalo, and then go sell them to the fishing market. We didn't even sell catfish; we just sold the buffalo. And
wow,
that is some of the best eating. I mean, everybody around here in your metal board.
Oh Lord, let me change the subject. Let me change the subject. We don't want to talk about eating buffalo carp. Come on.
That meat is snow white.
It is.
So this 70+ pound carp that you caught, where did you catch this bad boy at?
I caught him right in front of Antigua Cay, right up past Windjammer at the sandbar.
So South Carolina,
right, JR?
That's South Carolina, right?
We actually paid them up. See, I think I built a lot of houses on the lake. So when I was younger, me and my brother, the first thing we'd do, we'd go buy 150 pounds of corn. We'd go out to the boat dock at the house we're building, and we'd throw out about 50-pound bag the first day. Second day, we'd throw out about a half a bag. Third day, we'd throw out a half a bag. The fourth day, we'd throw our rods out, and we wouldn't get anything done the rest of the week because, I mean, literally, We caught 9 in one day, and the smallest one was like 35.
So you're telling me if I were to go try to target a big buffalo on Lake Wiley, the key would be to chum.
Yeah, just bait it up with corn, and you got to think the world record come out of Wiley. It's 88 pound or whatever. But those guys, I mean, literally, you can go out there and bait up a hole for buffalo, and once the buffalo move in there, man,
that fish is on the wall at Midway. They had that fish mounted, and it's on the wall at Midway, I want to say.
That's
Kings
awesome,
Mountain.
Man. That is awesome. Somebody asked me a question here about my dog. That is my 3-year-old lab pup. Her name is Gidget. A guy gave her to me. And
Gidget is a beautiful chocolate lab.
She is. She's gorgeous, and she's got all the desire in the world, has the capability of being an outstanding duck dog, and she'll never see a bird other than my backyard or in a boat. She's got her manners down pretty good. She's really good in the boat, pretty good around here. The only problem I have with her is that she never sees anybody but Cindy and I. So when somebody comes, whether it's one of the older ladies that lives either side of us or my kids or something, she's all over them because she don't ever see anybody but us. So she's kind of excited about that, and sometimes I have to get after her a little bit, but she's a great, great dog. She really is.
I told you this hour would fly by, didn't I, Jeff?
It did.
Oh, wow, it did.
It did. Jeff, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing your information about your tournament. That tournament is so intriguing, the way you have it set up, and I wish you the very best of luck with that. If there's anything that we can do on Catfish Weekly to help you promote that, you're welcome to post anything you want to about the tournament on any of our stuff. If you need to come back on here to talk about it again before time, I know you're going to have some other people approach you about that, and that's awesome because a lot of them will be closer to you than I am. But we may have a different demographic where we can reach out to people outside your area. And if you would like to do that, just give JR or myself a shout. We'd be glad to set it up with you. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Absolutely. Absolute pleasure, Mr. Jeff Manning. Can't wait to have you on again, buddy.
That's for
anytime.
sure.
Anytime at all.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for watching the show tonight. If you have any questions for Jeff, you can either message him about the tournament. You can message him on Facebook or get them to me, and I'll get them to him, and we'll get them figured out for you. But thank you guys so much for watching Catfish Weekly, and we will see you next Monday night. Right?
Happy 4th of July. We'll see you guys next week.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Happy 4th, everybody.
Run on over and watch Chunky Cats for a little while, you guys. You'll have a good time. See you next week.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Man,